Whenever people talk about the underwater combat power of the People's Navy, especially the nuclear submarine with the highest level of secrecy, many people will always think of the so-called the Chinese nuclear submarine has not yet left the port, and the US military can hear its noise in Hawaii. It is also said that in terms of nuclear submarines, there is a gap of at least 30 years between China and the advanced products of countries such as the United States and Russia. However, how credible are these views that obviously belittle China's nuclear submarine industry and equipment level? Although there are few domestic official public reports on domestic nuclear submarines, the US Navy, which inevitably encounters with PLA submarines in the deep ocean, may also have a considerable say. Statement by Admiral Samuel Papero. Admiral Samuel Papero, commander of the Pacific Fleet of the US Navy, recently accepted an interview with the US media. When talking about the Chinese submarine force, the four-star admiral told reporters that the Chinese Navy's nuclear submarines are behind the US submarines. 10-20 years. At first glance, this undoubtedly shows that the nuclear submarines in active service of the US military still enjoy obvious performance advantages over the nuclear submarines of the People's Liberation Army. Advances in technology. US military Los Angeles-class attack nuclear submarine. Throughout the US Navy's underwater fleet, they are all nuclear-powered submarines. In terms of attack nuclear submarines, the US military has three major models in active service, namely the Los Angeles class born in the Middle and Late Cold War, the Seawolf class born at the end of the Cold War, and the Virginia class that delivered the first boat in 2004. At present, the Los Angeles class is gradually being retired, and there are about 25 ships left in service, all of which were relatively advanced late-stage improvements built from the late 1980s to the early 1990s. It is expected that in the next 20 years, all Los Angeles-class nuclear submarines will be decommissioned. As for the attack nuclear submarine with the largest number in active service in the US military, it is the Virginia class, and the expected number of such submarines to be built will be no less than 48. Virginia-class attack nuclear submarine in the dock. From this point of view, the US submarine that Samuel Papero used as a reference for comparison is more likely to be the new generation of attack nuclear submarine Virginia class that is currently the main force. Moreover, for the 093B, the most advanced attack nuclear submarine known to be in active service in the People's Navy, foreign military experts have previously evaluated that the overall performance of the 093B is basically comparable to that of the later stage Los Angeles class, especially in terms of quietness and supporting equipment. In terms of weapons and other aspects, there is almost no gap with the later type Los Angeles class. China's 093B attack nuclear submarine. This further shows that in the eyes of Samuel Papero, 093B should be the product that is 10 to 20 years behind the US submarines. And this gap is equivalent to the difference between the late-stage Los Angeles class in active service in the US military and the latest Virginia class. US-led Rim-Pacific military exercise. Well, although our nuclear submarines in active service are 10 to 20 years behind the US military, it is not something to be happy about. But from the other side of the coin, the overall combat power of the late-stage Los Angeles-class attack nuclear submarines is actually not far behind. In the past Rim-Pacific military exercises, there were also examples of Los Angeles-class nuclear submarines acting as imaginary enemies breaking through the siege and interception of surface anti-submarine ships of the US military and allies, and successfully sinking the target ship. Not only that, in the matter of the United States and Britain providing nuclear submarines to Australia, the United States also proposed to lease one or two Los Angeles-class ships from the Australian Army. Powerful underwater equipment. China's 093B attack nuclear submarine. Considering that the underwater noise level of the late-stage Los Angeles class has been reduced to 105 to 120 decibels, in certain depth and speed ranges, it is almost the same as the Seawolf class nuclear submarine known for its quietness. Supporting heavy torpedoes and submarine-launched Tomahawk cruise missiles form anti-ship, anti-submarine, and land attack firepower. If China's Type 093B nuclear submarine can achieve comparable performance, the saying that the Chinese nuclear submarine has not yet left the port, and the US military can hear the noise it makes in Hawaii, which is often talked about by some people, will undoubtedly be self-defeating. Break. US military P-8A anti-submarine patrol aircraft. As for why Samuel Papero's statement has high credibility, the reason is very simple. In the context of peacetime, nuclear submarines vs. The game of catch the mouse is simply too numerous to count. The ships under the command of the American four-star admiral are likely to have some confrontations with Chinese nuclear submarines, and the number of fights may be more than one. The U.S. military must have a direct understanding of the performance and certain tactics of Chinese nuclear submarines. Envision Type 095 and Type 096 nuclear submarines. Of course, the last thing to say is that the 093B is by no means the end of China's nuclear submarine development, and we cannot be complacent about it. After the domestically produced fourth-generation attack nuclear submarine Type 095 enters service, its comprehensive level is very likely to match that of the U.S. military's Seawolf class and Virginia class, which are products of the same generation, and it is not ruled out that there will be some partial performance differences. Beyond. At that time, even this 10 to 20 year gap will not be allowed to continue to exist.